Quilt Roadies. Thank you for stopping by. If you are new to this channel, welcome. We enjoy all the company. I hope that you'll stay for a while. And if you choose to do so, please subscribe. I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And let's get on with what today's episode is about. I had a wonderful weekend. Sometimes in life the stars align in perfection, and in this busy world, when they do, it is a true gift. So it turned out that some girlfriends were able to coordinate their schedules. I was able to have a hole in my schedule where we could all come together for a weekend of laughter. And I have to say that laughter is the best medicine. Yeah, it is. So I picked up one girlfriend at the airport because she was flying here. The other two were driving. And it was just magical. Just magical. So what happened was that the girlfriend and I that I picked up at the airport, the timing was perfect. And we decided to just take a peek at Cool Cottons, which is a quilt store in Portland that was closing. And so we decided just to swing by because I think it was going to be their last weekend to be open. And it is located in an iconic Portland bungalow, one of those craftsman homes where the built-ins are all there. It was a sweet, sweet shop, and she carried a really eclectic series of fabrics, let me just say. But the place was packed and busy, and so we did not shop because we didn't have much time. We were ready to move on to get home and meet up with the two that were driving into town. I'm still on the recovery end of that weekend, which is one of those, you will know this feeling when things work out and you're able to be with people that are part of your history, and you laugh and everything's laid back, and you're sitting around all weekend without your bra or jock strap, depending on whatever you wear. It was awesome. It was awesome. And I had planned ahead of time a loose itinerary, which was approved. Was the group approval? The consensus had to be there, and so we did. I'm going to just take you through the weekend, but along the way, share with you some enabling and some progress. So this is how I approached this, what I knew was going to be a laugh out loud. And when you get together with people that know your history or have been part of your history, you get to relive part of that history. It's like a bunch of, you almost step into that realm of old folks sitting around talking about, remember that time? That's what it was. It was so perfect, though. It was just absolutely perfect. But I knew I wasn't going to get a lot done. And here's the thing. Next week is the beginning of Quilters Affair, and moving into the quilt show. So all of the things that have to be done in my schedule to look like I know what I'm doing when I get there, I had to really think through. So number one I knew I wasn't going to be concentrating this week. I knew. Oh, by the way, this is really a channel about quilting and embroidery and all that fun quilty world stuff. And I do get to that, but it's mostly about life too. So I knew that I would not, it's really hard to cut with a rotary cutter when you're laughing out loud and to concentrate. So starting a new project was like definitely out of, it was going to be old projects. And what I did know is that I have 3 quilts that had to have the binding and the labels on them for the quilt show. So my goal for that 4-day weekend was to tack down binding, get that all ready so that the pressure would be off. And I did it. I mean, I put on my adult thimbles and I tacked binding and got it done. And then I made the labels. And the way I make labels is that I take a piece of fabric. It either can be a pre-printed label or a plain piece of fabric, and I fuse some SF101 on the back of it, not to the very edge of the label, but just about a ½ inch inside. And then I write what I want on my label, and then I fold the label, the edges of the label over, and iron that edge so that that edge sticks to the SF101 without going over the whole back side of it. And then I fuse it to the back of my quilt, and then I whip stitch the edge. So all I have left is whip stitching the edge. The labels are on there. I can't tell you, maybe it's time and age, but I kind of wish that when I was younger and was so out of control with my ADHD that I would have had some of these tools or knowledge about what it was going to be like if you don't get some organizational skills. Yeah, but that's the past, isn't it? That's the past. So now my 3 quilts for Quilt Show are ready, and the Quilt Show's still, you know, I'm still a week from having to go down. I just can't tell you how happy I am. Because what it does is I'm going to enjoy it that much more because there isn't the pressure. So what's the lesson in this? I guess for me, it's just figuring out what works for yourself and then doing it. And then you get that reinforced feeling of, oh, this is what the regular people feel like all the time. Successful. Yeah. Gee and I, after we dropped, my grandson stayed overnight last night because he had, this week is his engineering robotics Lego camp here. And so I said, why doesn't he just stay overnight? Sunday nights is our family dinner night. I said, why doesn't he just stay overnight and we take him in the morning? And to see all those kids, I just love that we moved to the Portland area. To be able to see kids and all the activities that are available, it's just a blessing. It is a blessing. And Pete's Coffee. Pete's, the coffee of crafters and stitchers. So having all of that inspiration here was Awesome. Awesome. And I think my stitching is better when I've been laughing. It's like, kind of like, do you feel like sometimes, like when you have an ugly cry, there are moments when I do the ugly cry, and that means that I'm like sobbing, snot's running out, I'm, you know, that kind of, and then afterwards, it's like, something got purged. It's the same with belly laughing. And a full weekend of that belly laughing was like, it it just released my heart. It just released my heart. So one of my girlfriends that came for the weekend is the one where my sweet 16 that I used to have went to live at her house. And so she brought back a quilt that she had quilted for me that was for my younger grandson. And that's the photograph. I don't know where G will put the photograph, but it's the sailboat. And so I'm going to quilt his name, and then I'm going to applique a plaque on the boat of my parents' sailboat, because my parents' sailboat was named after my maternal grandmother. And yeah, I don't know, I think it'll be a fun. And she did such a great job quilting it. I mean, she put fish in the water, clouds in the sky. It's such a sweet quilt. But the binding part and the additional embellishing to that quilt will have to wait till after quilt show. I have signed up for a class. Normally, I just, you know, I've been affiliated for several years, off and on with breaks in between, with the Quilters Affair. I've taught watercolor, I've taught wool stitching, all kinds of different little classes, and sit and stitch, which has turned out to be one of my favorites because it's like having an in-person YouTube channel. I get to talk to people, I get to help them if they need it, I get to enable them, I get to be inspired. I've met so many wonderful people in Sit and Stitch, and I cannot wait to meet some of you there this year. And so I am doing Sit and Stitch Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I decided, well, heck, I'm going to be down there all week. I should take a class. And so I signed up for Sue Spargo's class. I know, I heard a collective, you don't need another Sue Spargo project. And it's not a need, it's a want. And so I am signed up on Monday and Tuesday for Woven Trees. And it's going to be not a big quilt. It's going to be like a maybe a 10 by 10 woven tree, something that is going to just feel good, just feel good, and maybe I can get it done, So I do this week have to get ready for that and get my supplies. And it was so funny because there were, when I was looking at the supply list, I thought, oh, I have those notions in my Notion traveling case, so I can pick those out. And I have to pick out my wool, so I'm very excited about that. So Monday and Tuesday, I'm going to be taking the Woven Tree class. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'll be teaching Sit and Stitch. On my Stitch Roadie channel, if you aren't familiar with that, I have a Stitch Roadie channel that is about my cross-stitching life. Yeah. And the enabling on there has been the conversion of jewelry travel cases to stitchy boxes. Well, I thought, why does it have to be limited to cross stitch, right? It doesn't. So I have been prepping my jewelry case to take with me to Sisters to my Woven Trees class. So far, and it's a work in progress, because these jewelry boxes, when you first get them, you have to like rip out the parts of the inside that you don't want, and that is the scariest part, because once you've done that, you're kind of on the path, and then you have to envision how you want to use it. So this is my stitchy box, and I received, because I'm a sponsor of or supporter of the quilt show, I got a letter with a sticker and a magnet in it that was designed by Kelly Ray Roberts, and I glued one of those to the top of my box. So isn't that just perfect? So when I open this up, this is what it looks like so far. I have needles, I have scissors, I've got a tape measure, my little Pinocchio tape measure, I've got a little pin cushion, and this is what I bought at Pioneer Quilts. I took the girlfriends to Pioneer Quilts, and I bought the little needle threader, and it's a little magnet. And then there's a little, I still have to add some other things to this that are going to be appropriate for my Sue Spargo class. But I'm going to feel kind of a little bit like a princess in class when I set my box down in front of me. I know. It's those little things that make us feel good about ourselves. So when the girls came the next day, you know, we kind of caught up, and we knew that the next day was going to be a full day of shopping. And so it started off with a trip to Acorns and Threads. Normally, to get to Acorns and Threads, it takes me 20 to 25 minutes. An hour and a half later, I had never seen traffic like that. I have never, in all the times that I've been going in, never seen the traffic. And then I heard that some semi fell over on the freeway somewhere with live chickens. It's interesting to me that when it's like a ripple effect. So it took us an hour and a half to get there, but it was well worth the trip. And I will share on my Stitch Roadie channel what I got there, because I did. And we had a great time. So from and we had lunch with Janine. From Acorns and Threads, we then proceeded to, we originally were going to do 3 stops that day, but we had to drop one because the traffic was just unbelievable. And so from Acorns and Threads, we went to Pioneer Quilts. And that's where I got the little needle threader, the little snail, because I'm slow. Yes. But at Pioneer Quilts, and if you are in the Portland area, that is a quilt store that I would say you need to make the effort to stop at. You will not be disappointed. It is in a historic farmhouse in Portland, and you can tell how the city grew up around it. But all the original buildings are still there, and the garden, and she really does curate a wide variety of quilty products that will appeal. There's something in there for everybody. So I picked up some silk and pearl because although that's my favorite thread, I had never seen such a beautiful variety of variegated silk and pearl. And so that's what I did. I picked up all of these beautiful, and you know, you can call up and they mail order. they mail order anything. Just tell them you saw it on my channel, and then. But here's the thing. One of my friends bought a panel, and she it was a panels within a panel. Does that make sense? Like it had like 8. I think it had 8 little panels, and then she gave us a choice of what panel we wanted out of that, and I chose this piece. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful, and the colors were muted, and it's not something I would have bought for myself. But how did this come about? What happened was that one of my girlfriends was showing me on Instagram a site, and I will try to remember to link it, but it's a woman who has an Etsy shop, and she does custom orders of embellished black and white photographs. So you send her like an 8x10 black and white photograph, and she picks out an element in that photograph and punches holes around that element and embroiders it. So this black and white, like this black and white wedding photograph, there'll be this beautiful embroidered bouquet. I was fascinated by that. I was fascinated by that. There is so much in the crafting world to explore, and it is all inspiring. But after she showed me that, I thought, I'm going to embellish this. I don't have to start from scratch. I already have a picture. So I can do some stitching embellishing. And then I was like blown away, because 2 of the silken pearls that I purchased would look gorgeous on this. Just to give it a little dimension. You know what I mean? And then I probably could either do a pillow or frame it. I tell you, my mind was going 100 miles an hour. So that is something that I plan on doing. What else? Well, since I, from Pioneer Quilts, then we came home and we sat around and I stitched binding, and they were stitching some things, and just stay tuned a minute. I'm going to go get something to show you that I am so tickled about. So just look at the background. Talk to Enzo. He's looking out the window at the other dogs. Well, I had this kit that I had bought at an antique store of a knitted cactus, and I had asked this, one of my girlfriends is like a knitter extraordinaire. Like one year she made me an Arnie and Carlos knitted Christmas ball to hang on my tree. It's my favorite. So I probably just pressured into it, but she's so filled with love. I mean, this gal, she makes quilts for babies, she makes quilts of valor, she makes wheelchair quilts, she makes dresses with the So Yeah brothers, I mean, to ship overseas, and yeah, so she sat down. I gave her the kit. She sat down and she knitted it, like, I'm thinking an hour. And we put it together. So look at this. Isn't that adorable? I am so tickled by that. Because I love barrel cactus. I love barrel cactus. And I'm hoping in Sue Spargo's class to learn how to do the dimensional barrel cactus, because I just love it. So that was really fun to have her do that. The next day, we went to Cedar Ridge Quilt Shop. And again, I know I sound like a broken record, but again, that is a shop that you must make an effort to go to. It's in Oregon City, and she has something that will appeal to everybody. She has batiks, she has wool, she has Kelly Ray Roberts fabric, just something for everyone. And so I was really happy to see, because, you know, they were shopping around doing their shopping, but I had not seen anything by Bunny Hill. And then I saw this sugarberry, and I bought a little, because who doesn't want a charm pack? This charm pack is so beautiful. I mean, the colors are, I can see a table runner or a small quilted wall hanging. I have a hard time passing up a charm pack. So I got a charm pack there. They did some other damage. And it was fun to talk to the owner, and then the best part was there was a stitch group going on, and I want to see what everybody's stitching, because I want to know if I should be doing what they're doing. And it turned out one gal named Penny was working on a Sue Spargo, and she's going to be in the Woven Trees class. So I already have a friend in the class. It's the quilting world. We are connected. We are just connected by our love of all things thread and fabric. What can I say? Since I am caught up on my binding, I actually then could think outside the box on what I wanted to work on next. And I am signed up for Crabapple Hills Halloween retreat. If you don't know about Crabapple Hill, you should just go on there and look. It's so creative. Meg Hockey is the design guru behind Crabapple Hill. And she, at her place in the Tri-City areas of Washington, holds 4 retreats a year based on a season. And a few years ago, 2 other girlfriends and I went to the spring one. And it's one of those retreats where you really have to get on their mailing list, and you have to figure out when the next registration is going to be, and you have to be right by your computer to do that. You know what I'm talking about. So I lucked out, and my girlfriend lucked out that we got into the Halloween. And when I was looking at the last Crabapple Hill retreat participants on Instagram, there was a lot of show and tell. And I really want to bring some show and tell to the Crabapple retreat in October. And I had a kit that I had bought a few years ago when I went to the spring retreat. Bound and determined to get that done. So this is what I had purchased. It was a pillow. And this will go perfect on the bench in my entryway. And I had already, I think last year, actually prepped it using my miso light table. And she traces her designs with a light table, and I use the miso table. with the finest brown micron pen, and I had already done that. So I dragged that out and I started it because it was so freeing to have had everything kind of ready. I mean, I had already sent in my postcard for auction. My auction quilt was ready. It's like, wow, look at me. So I decided to start stitching, embroidering something fun, and this is how far I've gotten. Now, this is a no-brainer project, I'm here to tell you, because all it is backstitch with embroidery floss. It's backstitch, there's no coloring, it's just strict embroidery backstitching, and it was exactly what I needed as a relaxing project without having to think too much. So I'm working on that, and I probably will take this with me down to Sisters because it'll be easy to not have to think too much. I know, it's so silly to think that way. Not have to think too much. But that has been my latest thing, and I hear the Hexies calling me too, so there is that. Well, after Cedar Ridge, we just kind of came back and stitched and talked and planned for the future. The last trip we took together was to Road to California, and I don't think the road is in our future in January of this next year, but we definitely are. We have a retreat with our full group in April. Yeah. Being around other quilters, that's why I like to go to a stitch group at a quilt shop, because being around other stitchers and quilters inspires you to get going, And now it's quiet here in the beehive, but my mind is not. My mind is not. So thank you for stopping by. I hope we'll see you again. The next video will be after Quilt Show Week. So it'll be a couple of weeks before I'm back here again. I can't wait to show you the quilt show. Hopefully G will be doing that videoing, so it will not be so, you won't have to take Dramamine. You won't have to take Dramamine. I hope I see a lot of you there. Yeah. So take care. Be safe. Love you guys.